What's up, everybody? Quick intro to introduce our guest for this episode. Mike Schultz is our clinical educator at Airmed, which means he's responsible for teaching, educating 4 helicopter bases in the state of Iowa, which is a big task. And I've told him before, and I might even have said it in this episode, I think one of the hardest things to do in EMS is try to teach everybody teach a bunch of people that think they know it all. And that's a true story. Really good story about how he wanted to be a cop, and he kind of ran into a hiccup in life, and as much as that happens, he had to pivot. Life's fluid, things change, you just never know, and he kind of fell. I would say kind of fell into this educator role through the course of his life and his career choices. Current active member of the National Guard, so when you see him, say thanks. Got his taste in EMS through a deployment through that, and then quickly found that he had a kind of a knack or a passion for teaching others, and he does a really good job of it. So listen to that story. I've locked up some other guests for the future. Mike's wife, Ashley, actually was one of our flight nurses, and she became a nurse practitioner, and now she's in that, I don't even know what to call it, that realm of non-conventional medicine, where they actually work with you and listen to what you want, listen to how you feel, and try to find reasonable solutions to get people to feel better. That's going to be a great conversation because I'm really into that. So look forward to that. Kit Brown, one of our HEMS pilots, former naval pilot, is going to sit down and visit with us about leadership and being a high achiever and floating down the Nile River, that kind of stuff. Just got to find time to get it done, and I think we will. Spring's starting to ramp up, but I'm going to make episodes a priority. Nurses Week, don't forget about Nurses Week. Holy crap, how could I forget? Another Nurses Week is just around the corner. So we'll do something special for that. That'll be pretty cool. Outside of that, I may have to fill in some weeks where I can't get together with some guests, but if you guys have ideas for people that you think would generate interesting conversation, I'm willing to listen. I think that this podcast bodes to people with interesting stories in our business and how they do life while they're doing our job or in our career, and how they represent themselves at home, and anything, man, woman, doesn't make a difference. I think it's great. So everybody has a story, and I'd be interested to listen to people. So if you have suggestions on who I should contact or get in touch with and sit down and have an hour conversation, let me know. Email me or text me. It doesn't make a difference. Outside of that, I hope you guys enjoy Mike's story, and we'll talk to you next week. Work hard, be kind. So the fellow that I interviewed with on that one, we're live, by the way.
Yep.
He texted me last night and said, "Hey, I got a phone call from somebody who listened to the show." So I was like, "Well, it's not my place to ask,
Sure.
and I don't care." But I thought that was a win.
Yeah.
So good on you.
Yeah. No.
Hey, everybody. I'm here with Mike Schultz. He's our clinical educator here at our program. He's the clinical educator of 4 helicopters. And we're going to shoot the shit. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff because he's willing to do it and he's got time in his day. But and I'll give you a little background. You heard the background on Mike on the intro. So let's start with, what do you want to talk about?
I guess you can just get into my story.
Let's talk about your story.
In EMS.
Yeah, let's start with that. So
Okay.
Did you get started in EMS because of your military career?
Correct. Yep.
So you enlisted out of high school?
So I had no intentions of doing anything medical in high school. All I wanted to do was be a police officer.
Can you say where you went to high school?
Yep, Johnston.
Oh.
Yep. So I went to Johnston High School. Didn't take any science classes. I pretty much just was 100% focused on being a police officer. That was my sole goal
Good
in
for
life
you.
from the time I was a freshman in high school.
Focus and purpose.
Yep, exactly. I was doing ride-alongs with Des Moines PD, Johnston PD, Sheriff's Office.
Yeah.
Like I had set myself up to do that specific job. That was my goal.
Great.
So then out of high school, I started taking criminal justice classes at DMAC. And then while doing ride-alongs with Des Moines PD, I kind of asked that question, hey, how do I become a police officer? Like, what do I need to do to stand out amongst typically 500 applicants?
How long ago
for
was
Des Moines
this?
PD? This would have been like 2008, 2009, when it was pretty competitive to get a job at a police department.
And without getting political, was that when it seemed like the culture was shifting away from being nice to cops?
Correct. I think it was still a pretty pro-LE world out
Yes,
there.
we
and
were.
It was a very sought-after position. And
Okay.
I think, it was a very, long story short, very competitive to get a position at a police department.
Yes.
So how do I set myself up against 500 other applicants just like me?
I'm in.
And so the answer was military service.
Okay.
That was the only thing that I really could do that I wasn't already doing.
Did they say why? Like other
Just-
than the discipline, the order,
And then just essentially the experience, stressful, like being able to manage stress. It's a skill set of, first aid, firing weapons,
yeah.
all of
Oh,
those
sure.
things that come along with military service.
Okay.
So that was the answer. So that's exactly what I did. Went to the National Guard, being that it would allow me to stay kind of at home, if you will, and then do my military service on the weekends, rather than just sort of going into the active army and getting sent off to whatever place in the country
Yeah.
they want you to go. So when I went to do my physical for the military was when I discovered I was colorblind.
Oh,
Yeah. So
For real?
had no idea.
okay.
Yeah. So colorblind immediately eliminated every single job I wanted to do in the military.
But there was no hints leading up to this
No idea.
that you saw things differently than what everybody else did.
Correct. Yeah.
Nobody
You don't-
said, "Hey, look at that rainbow," and you're like,
So, and I can see.
I don't see it.
I can see colors. I just can't see the same spectrum of colors that a normal person with normal vision can. So you really don't know what you don't know. So while you see maybe 30 shades of blue that exist in the world, I see maybe 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
but couldn't we really say that it's a blue hue, and is that really detrimental?
It's not. It's just that when you look at the testing with the bubbles, with the hidden numbers in the bubbles, you have to distinguish very similar colors of blue to be able to say, yeah, that's a 7 hiding in that bubble set. Can't do that.
And you can't do that.
Can't do that
And
at
that's a no-go for being an officer.
It's a no-go for allowing me to do anything in the military that I wanted to do. I wanted to do like infantry, military police.
So this was the
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I literally walked out of MEPS, which is the military entrance processing place where you do your physical, and it was just like, I guess it's not for me, right? This is just you're not going to give me what I want. I'll just find another way to accommodate or to get into the law enforcement.
Okay.
So I stepped away from it, only to get called back by my recruiter, who said, "Hey, I understand what your goals in life are to do this. Why don't you consider being a medic, which is a job in the military that does not require color vision?
Okay.
For whatever reason, don't need to have color vision to be a medic."
Okay.
Yep. Talked me into it, being that, police officers respond to medical emergencies.
Yeah.
You would learn this new skill set that would make you more versatile as a cop. Made sense. Sign the paper. Off to medic school I go. So I go
Military
to
medic school.
Yes, correct. Sorry. Yep. So,
Which is probably different than what we're accustomed to on the civilian side, right?
Yes, it is. Yep. So I went to basic training in Georgia. That's pretty standard, just like you see on TV. I thought it was pretty easy, honestly. And then went to the military medic school, which is 4 months long, and that gets you your EMTB certification along with additional skills that kind of mirror that of a paramedic, but you don't have the education of a paramedic.
Okay.
So, for example, I can start an IV, I can decompress a chest, but I can't. But
In the military, none of which you could do in civilian.
Correct.
EMS.
Yep. So when I came back from all that training, I had
That jump.
an EMTB training and certification, but had the skill set of maybe closer to a paramedic.
Okay.
So I get back.
But get back. Say, where'd you get back from?
So I got back from San Antonio, Texas,
Which is where you did your
where I
training.
did my
Okay.
medic training. get back, and then the goal is still become a law enforcement officer, start looking at jobs. I go back and do my ride-along with who was sort of at the time my law enforcement mentor, who I'd been doing ride-alongs with at Des Moines PD, share my story of how I got here, how I'm now a medic for the Army. And he's like, hey, you might want to look into this. I don't think you can be a cop and be colorblind as well.
At this point, had you done any, have you been deployed?
Not at this point yet.
Okay.
I had just come back from, I'd been in the military for a month, shipped off to basic, 3 months, in medic school for 4 months, and now I'm back home.
Okay.
Find out that I cannot be a cop now
because
as well because of my color vision. Yep. So at that point, had kind of a mental breakdown.
Sure.
Had no idea. Again, this had been my goal for 7-8 years. So it was a little bit lost as to what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I was enrolled in University of Northern Iowa's criminal justice program. Was what my goal was to do when I came back from all of my basic training.
Your best friend graduated in that program.
Yeah.
UNI, criminal justice.
Yeah, it's a great program. But couldn't go into what was the point of going to those classes knowing that I wouldn't be able to be a cop at the end of it, right? So dropped out of that. I never actually started UNI, but
they didn't give you any other, you never started your classes, so you never had an advisor that could steer you onto a different private investigator career or some sort of casino job with security or something like that.
Nope.
None of it, in either way, it wouldn't have interested you probably?
Nope. Yeah.
You wanted to be a beat cop.
I wanted to be a beat cop. Yep. Just was like, well, this is completely out. I have to find a completely new avenue of life. Yeah. And so at that time, given the training that I had just gotten from the military, public service was what I was interested in. It just naturally made sense to go into EMS.
Okay.
So about a week before classes started, I had to beg to get into paramedic school.
Why?
Just because they had already closed enrollment.
Oh, okay.
So I would have had to waited another year to get into the paramedic program.
Okay.
So I had to meet the program director, essentially explain what had just happened throughout the last 8 months of my life.
Did our local community college have a program at the time?
They did, yes.
Is that where you went?
That is not. I went to the hospital named. Yep. So
familiar.
Yep. So had to beg, borrow, plead my case, and luckily they thought I was worth the time.
Oh, good.
And so I got in with about a week to spare, and then started my role in paramedic school.
Okay.
So paramedic school, not a lot of note other than I had no clinical experience.
At what point, though, were you still involved in your National Guard?
Yeah. So
did that interfere? Did you have to?
Not terribly, because at this point now I'm just in if you don't understand how the National Guard works, once you're back from all your initial training, then you kind of join into a unit where you would actually do your job as, for my case, a medic, and that is just your training 1 week in a month.
Right.
And then you have 2 weeks in the summer that you do a big field training exercise.
I think I remember the commercial, man.
Yeah.
1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year.
In the summer, yeah. We'll soon find out it's not the case. But but yes, that's what I was doing. And I actually had pretty good support. All of my paramedic school was paid for by the Army using the GI Bill. So I was actually just going to school. I was super fortunate that I didn't have a job when I was going through paramedic school. The Army was paying for the school bills as well as the financial support.
Oh, nice.
To essentially live on ramen and Little Caesars $5 pizzas. So
just like college, man.
Went through paramedic school. They're supportive of it because I'm becoming a better medic for them.
Uh-huh.
So that was all a pretty good experience. I have really nothing bad to say about paramedic school.
Yeah. Me neither.
Yeah. So learned a lot there, and then started my career. I started a really small rural county 911 service in southern Iowa. At that time, it was really hard to find a 911 centric service that you could get into straight out of school. And
which is weird that, I wouldn't say weird, but that's universal.
Mm-hmm.
We all looked for that coming out of school. And the fact that there was few of those, I don't know that anybody prepared us for that.
No, I remember it was about 3 months before I found a job that, again, I could have applied at some of the smaller private services that do a lot of transports, but I just was set on 911 experience.
Yeah.
And so I drove myself 2 hours to work to get that. So
did that community have a community hospital in it?
It did. Yep.
So you were still doing the occasional hospital transfer.
Absolutely. Yep. So I really liked it because I got that critical care 2-hour transfer to Iowa City, but then I also got the,
911
quick,
stuff.
the 911 stuff. Given where we were in the state, we integrated with our program, Airmed all the time, used helicopters. So it was a really cool first job and a pretty busy job.
Yeah, good.
So I really enjoyed that.
Did you find it difficult when you started with that? Did you get any pushback? Like, we're all young and we're all new and we're all excited, and we go into somewhere and we've got this new, found knowledge base, and we go into somewhere that's probably a little antiquated. They've been doing things the same for a long time, and it's easy for us to identify things that we ask and we go, hey, why you guys still do it this way? Why can't we do it this way? And then, the older guys on the department or gals on the department be like, listen, man, just zip it and run your ambulance calls and get out. Did you ever run into that?
Yeah, I would say a little bit. I was told when I first got hired, like within the first day or two, that they did not expect to keep me for long because I'm too good for this place.
Isn't that something?
Which is a rough thing to hear when you're starting your career. It's like, well, I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult.
Are you guys self-deprecating your service?
Right.
Like, so the standards aren't real high here.
I just think that it was a
and they knew that.
Right.
And they knew it. And they're like, yeah, we don't really have a lot of high standards around this place. You seem like maybe you get your hair cut every now and then, and probably won't be here very long.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was the youngest.
Holy crap.
I think I was the youngest paramedic by probably 20 years.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit, I was at this time 20 years old. So 20 years old, rural, night shift, EMT partner. And I think, like I said, the next oldest person, or the next youngest person rather, was probably at least 10 or 12 years older than me.
Sure, and for those that aren't in our profession or our career, that's not uncommon.
Right.
Right. And I don't think it's to the fault of anybody, right? Like, comfort kind of leads to that, right? Like, don't rock the boat.
Sure. And I think that while, striving to learn new things, being really new to the industry, being motivated, wanting to get into all of the things, I still did learn a lot from that older culture. It's just maybe not what I initially thought I would learn from them.
Yeah, same boat for me, really. I started at a rural EMS service with a lot of older care providers that were intermediately, basically, certified. Yep. So not an EMT basic, not a paramedic, but been there a long time. The system worked for them. Enter some guy that thinks he knows it all, and I instantly thought, well, you guys are kind of not smart.
Yeah.
And then at the end of my career, I kind of realized that maybe they weren't so dumb.
Yeah, I think a lot of imparting and distinguishing as a 20-year-old, hey, I'm really excited about this job. But then also being told, hey, quit being so excited
about this job.
Right. And being, don't be bummed that you missed out on this really gnarly car accident.
For sure.
Because it's not a good experience for anybody involved.
No, that's exactly right.
And so having to kind of quander the excitement about what I signed up to do, but also kind of maintaining this bearing that I'm not offending the people I'm working with.
Yeah.
It's probably a balance.
And back in that time frame that we really did, I think, if I had to look back on my career, that we saw a pretty good transition of the older generation EMS provider kind of leaving for whatever reason, injury, burnout, retirement, to the newer, younger generation, but not right out of school. Like, you're kind of an anomaly because you were right out of school, but there was a big shift in culture when sort of like the mid-20s people couldn't quite figure out what they wanted to be when they grew up. And they kind of came into EMS, and I think that right around that time frame was, from my anecdotal experience, was about that time.
Yeah. So that was again, I learned a lot from the people. Like, I would not change my experiences down there, but it was definitely not a place to say, hey, I have this whole new idea of adding, a new medication, a new thought process, a new way of doing things. But tons of experience gained. I worked solely with an EMT partner.
Yeah.
So the
Baptism by fire, buddy.
Yeah.
Nothing against basic providers because they're wonderful people.
No.
But you're out there 20 miles from nowhere.
As a 20-year-old, deciding, do I push a paralytic to make this person stop breathing?
Yeah.
And if I don't get the tube, then what?
Yeah.
And there's no one else around me.
Which is a big kid decision.
Yeah, it is. So I think I had some, like you said, trial by fire there.
Yeah.
But a good experience. I think I grew as a provider immensely in the 2 to 3 years that I was there. And then that led into my first deployment. So, first deployment to Afghanistan. At that point, I was happy to do it. I was looking forward to it. I actually sought it. I actually transferred units to deploy to Afghanistan. To be honest with you, it was a letdown. It was not nearly what I expected. At this point, you don't know what you don't know, right?
What year is this?
So this would have been 2013.
Okay. So we're a good, 11 years into the war in Afghanistan.
Correct. Yep. So we're in that, and then what my role was as a platoon combat medic, and so I was with a company of combat engineers, and so our job was essentially every day drive from point A to point B, look for IEDs, and so basically a giant convoy would need to get from point A to point B. Our job was just to make sure they weren't going to get blown up before. So we would kind of lead the convoy. We drive about 5 miles an hour, got a bunch of different technology to look for these IEDs or potentially have them blow up before they hit us, type of thing.
Before they hit your truck. Because you're the medic, and so what good are
Correct.
you if you're in the first truck and you get blown up first?
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm okay in my thinking. Like I was trying to wrap my head around this for a second, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, why wouldn't they put you in the back? And so that if an accident did happen in the front, you were available to help.
Usually the front truck and the last truck are the two that are most likely to be hit because they're either going to be doing it by...
How many medics were in your convoy?
Just me.
Jesus
Yep.
Christ.
So it was just me for 30 people.
Is this...
which I guess if we want to tie into training, that is where the first piece of my real education or training other people was. I have 30 guys, and again, if I do get hurt, I rely on them to do everything for me.
But you're the guy in the convoy that's supposed to be there to help them.
Correct.
Listen,
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to make sense of it because it's the government, right?
Sure.
So we're not going to win that one. But okay, just as long as we're on the same page.
Yep.
Go.
Yeah. So it took a lot to, in the pre-workup of that deployment, I made it a goal of mine, I guess, to make them more independent without me, so that if I did get hurt,
so you were teaching them to do the stuff that you would do.
Yeah, this is how you use tourniquets. This is how you do a needle decompression. This is how you do assessments. This is how you find bleeding, stop it. So I really enjoyed that teaching component of making them better.
Which to parallel where you were in 2000, what year did we say this was?
This was 2013.
To parallel where I was in civilian EMS at the time, we did not use tourniquets.
Right.
So you guys are doing...
Tourniquet for everything.
Tourniquet for everything.
Yeah.
And then civilian medicine, we're like, don't you dare put a tourniquet on anybody.
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, 100%. There's trends I can go on for days about that.
I know.
What we're doing in the military versus what we see in civilian. In the
well, like I said before the show, I had an old high school friend that was a military medic, and he said the only good thing that ever came out of military medicine was civilian medicine.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Case in point.
Yeah. So that deployment really went off without any too crazy hitches. I think my biggest lessons there learned were more of leadership, mentorship, picking who's your mentor, knowing who those people are, understanding what a good leader looks like versus a bad leader. And I think when we look at leadership, I think that when you have a good leader or you have a bad leader, you have to take advantage of both situations. And unfortunately, in that situation, I think I dealt with more bad leadership that I learned from.
So let's talk about that for a second. What do you think makes both a good leader, and what do you think is a bad leader?
I think in that specific situation, bad leadership was poor communication, lack of mentorship, and the inability, I guess, to back the people that they're responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
I was put out on a figurative island, I guess, so to speak.
Okay.
And at that kind of moment where I needed my leader to stand up for me, they were nowhere to be found. It was all crickets.
Do you think that you just got a bad draw, or do you think that was pretty universally practiced?
I think it's a 50-50 split because in this circumstance, without getting into all of the details of it, fair. The person pretty much had to pick sides, right? Are you going to pick this 21-year-old at this time medic, or am I going to kind of save my own skin? Sure. Right? It was a them or me.
Did you get better because of it? Like, do you think that
100%? Yeah.
So there's a I don't know if it's an old saying, but there's a reasonable, like, it doesn't matter if you got a good dad or a bad dad. Mm-hmm. You're going to be a better dad because of it. Mm-hmm. So you either know what not to do, or you either know what to do. Mm-hmm. And that's because you basically one or the other.
Right. Yeah, I love quotes, right? So it's like adversity causes some men to break, others to break records, right? So which way you're going to take this new adversity? Yeah. I'm going to take what I learned.
I'm not going to be a victim.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So that was really the biggest takeaway that's really all I have much about that deployment.
But we didn't touch on good leaders. What do you think makes a good leader? Just a couple quick 2 or 3.
Mentorship. Again, I'm really big on mentorship, setting examples, and then sort of that unapologetically they are there for, I guess, servant leadership would be maybe the best kind of
advocating for those that.
Correct. Yep. Standing up for selfless service. They're kind of a selfless servant to those who they lead. Yeah. I think the only other thing too would be providing a purpose and a direction to get someone where they want to be.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good ones. Mm-hmm. So that deployment wraps up. Nothing real.
Yep. Nothing.
Did you ever put a tourniquet on?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I did a lot of sutures. I did a lot of Band-Aids, a lot of ibuprofen.
Yeah.
I was essentially like their primary care provider.
You could have worked a special event in civilian EMS.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, that's really all it was. So I get back from that. I resume EMS. At this point, I'm tired of driving 2 hours down at my rural EMS job.
Yeah, sure.
So I start applying, and
Your rural EMS job, what kind of shifts did you do?
So I would work overnights, and I would do a 16 and 2 12s, all back to so I drive down there, do a 16-hour night shift, sleep in a sleep room, wake up, 12-hour night shift, go to bed in a sleep room, wake up, 12-hour night shift,
and then
go home for 4 days.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You single?
Yeah.
Like not married?
Ish. Yeah. Single. Yep. Yeah.
God damn. Those night shifts, I don't know how people do it chronically.
But I lived a pure night shift life. So on my days off,
you slept during the day and
slept during the day.
You didn't try to gut it out.
Yep.
You just.
Yep. It made me great at the bars.
How long did you do that?
Endurance. So that would have been purely night shift for probably close to 5 years.
Jesus. Did you feel it?
I don't think I did at that time.
Really?
Yep.
You just kind of built for it?
Yeah.
And they say there's people out there that are.
Yeah.
I can tell you one that's not.
It caught up with me. But at that time, I was there for it.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. So you're out of that place.
Yep. I'm out of that place. I now have a new rural EMS job, a lot closer to home.
Yeah.
It's county-based 911 service, and that's where I would be for the next 5-6 years.
What year was this?
So this would have been 2014 to essentially 2019. Yeah.
Did you and I work at the same county place?
I believe so.
Yeah,
yes.
I think we did. Just missed each other though by a few years.
Yep.
So I know where you're at. Go ahead.
Yeah, gained a lot of experience there. I thought I had a great leadership team there. I would say that would probably be the first time as an adult I had a adult mentor.
Yeah.
And so that was a big component, I think, of my development, just even as a young adult in general. Like someone who I looked up to as a human being, as well as a boss, as well as a paramedic.
Yeah.
So
and they were 24/48s too. So you're in the
Correct.
every third day grind that we mentioned so much of on this podcast is how to deal with that.
Yep. It's crushing.
Yeah. But to be fair, initially when we first get into that job or that schedule, we think it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Like it's basically a sleepover with a bunch of cool people doing the same thing. and then you get 2 days off in the middle of the week to do whatever you want, and then you go back again and you're at a station.
I love the days off, right? Have all these days off to do what I want to do.
Yes.
So in that time, I was at a crossroads with my, what I'll call pretty salty attitude towards the military, given my first deployment.
Okay.
And so I was at the end of my 6-year contract. So the decision of, do I stay in or do I get out? And so essentially went to the table, the negotiation table, with one bartering chip, and that is I wanted to be a flight paramedic for the military.
Oh.
And so given my color vision issue, that was going to be a challenge, but is essentially, hey, this is what I want, take it or leave it. Like, either you're going to get me in that position or not.
So for the people that aren't in the job, like, why would the color vision be a hindrance to you?
So with the military medics, we're a little more integrated with the aircraft, I guess, than what we typically are in the civilian air world.
Yeah, sure.
And so we have to pass a DOT flight physical in order to be an air crew member in the military. And so in that includes color vision. Yep. And so that would have instantly negated or eliminated me from being an Army flight medic. And so that was a challenge.
The point of not differentiating between, greenish blue and bluish green.
Sure.
How would that affect your job?
So the main reason for that specific is in an emergency, when we're looking at all of these different cautions, warnings, advisory lights, they all have different colors in essentially what I'll call the dashboard of the helicopter.
Sure.
We play a component of the diagnosis of those problems. And so not knowing, hey, that's a red light versus a yellow light versus a green light makes it really difficult to go, oh, what's the emergency? So that was one piece of it, and then.
But you know when to stop in traffic and when to go in traffic, right?
Correct. Yeah, okay. I can tell that one, but a small light on a dashboard across the aircraft.
Just trying to get my handle on it.
Yeah, no, and then on top of that, aircraft position lights. There's a red one and a green one.
Yeah.
Can I tell if that's getting closer to me or further away from me?
Yeah.
Have to be able to differentiate a red and a green light on a helicopter.
Sure.
So all those things to say. The military at that time was making a huge switch to where their flight paramedics, or I should say their flight medics, had to become a critical care paramedic. So in the past...
In the military?
Correct.
Okay.
So in the military, your dust off, your medic...
Is this nationwide?
It is, yep.
I was under the impression, and I'm so out of touch with like trends and things, which is terrible for me to admit, but I thought the CCP thing was just like an Iowa endorsement to try to get people out of hospitals that were on blood products, that were on a ventilator. Helicopters weren't flying because of weather. How do I get this patient from this small community hospital to a bigger hospital? We'll just make up a new level and we'll call it the CCP.
Right.
It's not true?
And it was not even to that degree of CCP versus paramedic. It was prior to, don't quote me on the dates, but around 2009, 2010, to be a flight medic in the military, you'd go to your normal medic training just like I did. I'm an EMTB, and then they go, hey, now you're going to be on a helicopter. You're going to have ACLS and PALS, and good luck.
Did they take, you were a civilian paramedic at the time.
I was.
Did they take that into...
They did. So that was sort of why I had that bargaining chip in my back pocket. Okay. Before, the Army's flight medics were just a combat medic with ACLS and PALS.
Yep.
And then in 2009, 10-ish, the California National Guard loaded a team. They had all firefighter paramedics, all in the medevac. So they're Army flight medics that are also critical care paramedics working full-time in a civilian job. They go to Afghanistan, and they just kick everyone's butt. Right? Okay. Their survivability rates... what they were getting accomplished in flight, the survivability was vastly improved, enough so to convince the entire military to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't just have an EMT with ACLS on our aircraft. We should maybe make them all critical care paramedics.
Is it because of the pathophysiology component of the education, or what made it? What made the difference?
I think the difference was in the in a deployed theater like that, you're transferring patients, that were maybe underwent, had multiple chest tubes placed, they're intubated, they're on a ventilator, they have a monitor, and you're expecting an EMT with no critical care training to manage that patient. Yeah. They were just they were expecting way too much out of an EMT basic, that now just because you have a flight helmet makes you smart enough to manage a critical care transfer. Okay. So California led the way there. They kind of set the stage, and the entire military changed and said this is the new standard, which now requires all of these people that are currently flight medics to go and attend paramedic school. So the Army started a paramedic program down in Texas. This whole
and you were already
pipeline.
certified. Did you have to go through that school?
No. So that was where my bargaining chip was. So it takes about $80,000 to $90,000 to take an Army combat medic and make them into an Army flight medic. I had all of those accreditations, certifications, training, and experience coming to the table. So
you're in a good position.
I was in a good position to bargain, right? All they need to do is just look past this color.
Do you know how their education differed than civilian education, or did it?
Only in that it was extremely accelerated. So I think they get their paramedic in about 8 months, because they're there Monday through Friday, 12 hours a day, going through the books, doing clinicals.
This is the military.
The military's medic school.
And from the sounds of it, a lot more expensive.
Yes.
Because they're paying salaries
correct.
And benefits on top of the education, the tuition.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. So it only made it made sense for the state to look at someone who has all that training and experience.
Save them a little money.
And so I was able to get the color vision waived. And actually, the state of Iowa, fun fact, was the first fully paramedic qualified medevac since the original California.
Oh,
so we were actually the first state to qualify us as a fully capable medevac unit.
At no specific base, but just around. So like Camp Dodge was it. And then up in Waterloo, there's another one.
So we just have one medevac in the state of Iowa.
Is that at Camp Dodge?
It's at Waterloo.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So Waterloo is where we have our 6 Blackhawks.
Okay.
And then you have roughly at any given time 9 to 10 flight medics in the entire state.
Okay.
So we were
You're
the first,
one of them.
And I'm one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. So we were the first in the nation, which then brought us to the top of the list to deploy. So we had a surprise deployment mixed in here.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. That's what
Which
I
is
wanted.
what you were looking for.
Exactly what I wanted.
It's all working in your favor.
Yep. So exactly what I wanted. So on a random Wednesday, I get a phone call. Hey, we're going to Afghanistan in 6-7 months.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
So now this is 2017, 2018 time frame. So I go to that one. We deploy. That was much more the experience that I wanted. Mm-hmm. Probably one of my favorite years of my entire life. Learned a lot. And I think I developed as a medic a ton. So
it's probably not, you're not going to come back from that the same person you left.
Correct.
Right? Even in civilian EMS, this job changes you.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine that war doesn't do it to an accelerated degree.
It does and it doesn't. I think that one of the mental struggles of civilian EMS is that no one really deserves or expected this to happen to them, right? They didn't expect to get in this car accident.
Sure.
It feels very innocent, whereas in a deployed setting, everyone knows what's going to go on. They maybe don't know they're going to get shot or blown up that day, but they leave the base knowing, hey, the chances of this, I'm going out to go fight, and the chances of me getting hurt are higher. So
and you know that there's a high chance of what skill you're going to perform that day. You're probably going to put on some tourniquets. You're probably going to do some chest darts. You're probably going to do some things that we in civilian EMS might catch us off guard. Because it's not every day that I put in a needle in somebody's chest.
Yes.
It's not, right?
Yep,
it's
absolutely.
not every day. Especially now that I'm in the role that I am in, because I'm no longer what I call a first responder.
Sure.
I am on paper, right? But I'm never the first one there.
Yep.
And so you talked about being a cop earlier, and those guys where I used to work in suburban EMS were always the first ones there, and the shit that they would see before I got to see it was different, right? And now, what are we, third in? So now you've got the cop is the first layer, the police officer is the first layer, the fire department may be the second layer, The EMS service might be the third layer, and by the time we get there, most of the work is done.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing people in the raw form that I used to see people in, and I'm not the first one to start intervention.
Mm-hmm.
Wartime, not only are you seeing it probably every day, this is only an assumption because I have zero experience. For my listeners, I have zero experience. In its most raw form, post-incident, right there, right now, let's go.
Yeah, and I think what I didn't expect, right? So at this point, I've had close to 7-8 years of full-time EMS experience as a paramedic. So I kind of went into the deployment thinking, what new am I going to see, right? I'm just going to see a lot more trauma given where I'm at. But what new thing am I going to really discover? Quickly was humbled, I guess, if you will. I did not expect the volume, and not by call volume, but by patient volume.
Yeah.
In our helicopter that we fly in, you have a nurse, paramedic, pilot. In the military, you have a flight paramedic, a crew chief, who is essentially a mechanic, and then you have 2 pilots. So you're the sole clinician on the aircraft. And my first call, I had 6 patients.
Jesus.
So that was the
in the helicopter at one time.
At one time, yep. So the mass casualty, dealing with multiple patients, not necessarily triaging and figuring out how to transport them or waiting for other vehicles, but just, I have 5 people, go. Right.
There was a show on some network a while ago that went with a medevac team. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, it was with the pararescuemen.
Do you remember what that show was called?
Ooh. No, but I can find out. I actually knew the people that were on it.
Fascinated by that show.
Same job.
That's what I'm saying.
Same
so
exact job.
If people want to know what this is like on a realistic, like I watched that show, and there's a lot of bullshit shows on what we do for a living. This was not one of them.
It was on the Discovery Channel.
Okay.
Actually, a close family friend of ours was their commander. But,
no way.
Yeah.
But that was legit.
Yes.
So if anybody out there listening that wants a real life what this was about, we'll find the name of the show and we'll put it on my Instagram page or whatever. We'll get it out somehow, because I remember I was enamored by that show. I was like, these guys are the real deal. And I don't even know what year that came out. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so now you're doing it.
Yeah, so now I'm doing it. Learned a lot of lessons about, again, dealing with 5-6 patients at a time. And then this is where my critical care, I guess this is where what began sort of my journey into critical care medicine. Again, not really having much experience with ventilators, arterial lines, chest tubes, you name it, just any sort of post-surgical long-term care of a patient. I had no training, right? I had taken critical care within the first year I was a paramedic, then never touched a complex vent for the next 7 or 8 years.
But nothing in your like pre-deployment, hey, here's what you're going to end up doing, so
Nothing.
get familiar with that?
I mean, just here's your vent, know how to turn it on and know how to change the rate and the volume. But
which is what we did, which initially was our basic paramedic ventilator.
Right. So the expectation of, and I think critical care was just so new to the flight world and the military, there just wasn't really a great formal, in my opinion, training pipeline for it. And so then all of a sudden be plopped into a scenario where I've got, an American soldier who's intubated, that's just underwent a, XLAP, has a chest tube, intubated on a vent, in ARDS. There you go. Right.
Jesus.
And really, again, not having that, like we have the opportunities to do orientation when you start doing critical care flight medicine and writing with another person and learning from them and mentoring them and kind of seeing how that all looks. I was just making it up as we go. Right? I had never been on a critical care flight transfer. The first critical care flight transfer I was on, I was it. Right? There wasn't someone to follow along with and go, okay, I see. That's when you put on the monitor. That's how you do this, right?
You had to make it up.
Just had to make it up. Yeah, fake it till you make it kind of thing.
For those not to, Inside Combat Rescue is the name of that show.
That's it.
So now we don't have to post anything because I got this brand new laptop for the show that I never use. And I just Googled it, Inside Combat Rescue.
Yep. Right. They were performing the same job and actually in the exact same place I was, Kandahar. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Building looks familiar.
Ain't that something?
Yeah.
So how long so your deployment was 6 months?
It was a year.
A year.
Yep. So I was gone basically from August to August, August of 17 to August of 18.
When you came back,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not looking for any sort of like, what's the worst thing you ever saw?
Sure.
How did you have to, was there a transition period from your combat medicine to your civilian medicine when you had to take a step back and go, oh, wait, I can't do that here because I am no longer in age 60?
So I had actually, I had to evolve because I had worked on an ambulance and I had never flown a real patient until I got to deployment, realizing, hey, I can't talk to a patient on a helicopter, right? It's hard to have a conversation.
Real hard.
It's hard to collect a patient history
Yes.
when, we have the doors open on a Black Hawk going 120 knots.
Which is way worse than what we do now.
So that was getting back into a truck after that. I realized I wasn't talking to my patients anymore. I was just acting.
Yeah.
And so the bedside manner probably needed a little improvement when I came back from deployment.
And interestingly enough, I had this conversation with somebody. They don't really teach you that, and they don't teach you how to talk to people, which is 80% of our job in civilian EMS is just talking to people and gathering information and getting that information out.
Yeah.
Right. Like, hi, my name is Jason. What seems to be the problem today, or how can I help you,
right.
or what, and just extracting things so that we can figure out now, okay, this is this.
Right.
None of that. I don't remember any of that.
No, beyond just the guided, when did this start?
Scene safety,
the
BSI,
OPQRST.
okay, sample history, signs and symptoms. Yep. Oh, they're breathing like shit.
Right.
Oh, I should ask them if they have any allergies.
Yes.
It's the dumbest.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
It's a terrible script, right?
It's a terrible
script.
Like, it doesn't land good to just good old-fashioned human interaction.
Nope.
Because they assume, and what they spend the time on, is the big, bad, and the ugly.
Right.
We need to make sure we prepare you for an anaphylactic reaction. And that person's probably whistling through his airway anyway.
Right.
So he doesn't have time for pleasantries. Mm-hmm. But 80% of the people we see always have time for pleasantries.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
interesting. So now you're integrating back to civilian EMS. You got to start learning how to say, hi, my name's Mike.
Yeah.
Tell me about your chest pain.
Yeah. And then this is where I actually had to take a step back and self-evaluate a little bit and realize that given the last year of my life and what I'd been doing, that I needed a break, right?
Okay.
I needed some time away from patients. So I kind of let me, for lack of better terms, right? Prior to deployment, tones drop, rolling my eyes, got to get out of bed, got to go, trying to wake myself back up to get the motivation to go and get in the truck and go. Post deployment, tones drop, my heart rate's going about 180 miles an hour, my hands are shaking, stress response, right?
Yep.
And so that was abnormal, and that was something that I kind of had to realize, what's going on with myself? Am I okay? I felt okay, but I didn't feel okay.
Am I really okay?
Right, am I actually okay? Right.
Did you find that answer on your own, or did you have to find some help?
Eventually, I had to find some help for it to kind of rationalize what was happening.
Yeah.
But my kind of simple, immediate answer was maybe just come off the truck for a while. And so this is where I got into education. And so I found a job at Camp Dodge teaching normal combat medics, essentially like their refresher course for the year, right? So the Army provides refresher training. Where do I learn? How do I keep up my skills? And so I was considered a, quote, civilian contractor at a simulation lab at Camp Dodge.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 6 months, really calmed the nerves, just kind of got into a normal sleep schedule, felt a lot better.
It's amazing what that'll do, right? I have never met anybody that didn't go out on an injury or some sort of long leave of absence that started sleeping in their own bed every night and didn't feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt better. I started to really enjoy the education component. I had extreme fear of public speaking. First class, shaking up there, realizing shortly into that, actually people want to hear what I have to say, given my experience compared to maybe what a normal combat medic would have.
Little imposter syndrome, you think?
I had a little imposter syndrome, and then quickly validated that, no, everyone wants to hear what you have to say. You just came back, you just did this. the amount of education and training that you have compared to who's sitting in your class. Like, they want what you're giving.
Yes.
And so I started to notice and feel like I was becoming a mentor. People were coming up to me saying like, hey, I want to be you someday. And that really it was flattering, and it kind of made me feel like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, right. Validation.
It was validation. I had a purpose and I had a direction, right?
Which is two things that we sorely need as
It's the human.
As dudes.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Humans, yes, you're right.
Yep.
But,
yeah. So that was great for a while, and then I did miss the adrenaline, right? I missed the care, and at the same time, throughout that deployment, what I kind of breezed over was through this lack of knowledge with critical care, I knew the Army wasn't going to give that to me. So I just started going out on my own, and this is where my podcast journey begins, right? I discover Flight Bridge Ed, and I'm obsessed. And so I pretty much listened to every single one that they had available at the time.
Yeah.
And really evolved as a critical care provider from the beginning to the end, just via self-education through podcasts.
Listen, man, we're all nerds.
Yeah.
Right? It's just some of us take it to a different degree, I think, and especially in this job.
Right.
We can't. I don't think that we could know enough.
Yeah. And so I had just gotten to the point where I felt like I had started to figure out this critical care thing, realized maybe it was a little too much to be on a truck for a while, started teaching, and then got the bug. Like, I want to apply more of this critical care. Where can I go do that, right? Really, the only thing that can mirror deployment in my mind as far as experience, patient type, what equipment we carry was to fly civilian side. And that's where my Airmed journey started. So applied at one of our bases, got hired full-time, right out of the gate.
Which at the time wasn't probably one of our bases, right? Was it at the time, was it an independent by itself?
So my very first day was day one of it being integrated into the system.
Shut the front door.
Believe it or not. Yeah. I watched their old aircraft on my first day. I watched their old aircraft fly away.
How long ago was that?
Like,
I don't even remember. And I was on the...
So that would have been August of 2019.
It's only been 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep, their vendor's aircraft flew away, and our new vendor, or our current vendor's
Maybe I shouldn't
aircraft
say it that
flew
way.
in.
Maybe I
Right.
should say it's already been 4 years.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it's been that long.
Yeah.
So you're on the... and you got the new 429 on your first day?
Nope. We were in a 407. Yep, so we were in a 407 until the 429. It was not for another probably 2 years, probably a year and a half before we got our 429 up there.
Obviously a big difference between flying civilian in an aircraft, but still in a helicopter, which is still cool.
Yep.
Versus flying in a Black Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Were you still actively in the military?
I was, yep. Still
are.
Still am, yep. So,
Get deployed after that?
Nope.
So you did you did two deployments.
Two deployments, yep.
The one was fairly disappointing. The other one was pretty action-packed.
Yep.
And now, so how long did you do the full-time flying gig?
So full-time flying up at that base lasted roughly 2.5, 3 years.
When you came down to
congruently, actually, within about 6 months of being full-time up there, I also got a PRN position down in Des Moines, Knoxville.
Okay.
Yep.
Trying to figure out how it goes. And then those two jobs, and then you kind of naturally, your education bug, your will to teach people kind of took over.
Yeah.
And then we had an opening in the clinical educator job.
Correct.
Now, instead of just being the clinical educator of 2 aircrafts, 1 base, you're the clinical educator of 4 aircrafts, 3 bases.
And now the ground ambulance as well.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
So, where was I going to go with this? One of the hardest things I've ever thought of to do in your job, and I said this to the previous clinical educator, who I thought did a good job too, is probably one of the hardest things to do is try to teach a bunch of people that already think they know it all. What are the obstacles in education, teaching or educating such a large group of people who are perceived to be on the upper level of their profession?
I think the first hurdle for me, being a what I'll call fairly new flight medic compared to people, decades of experience on the same program.
Yeah.
There's definitely was an imposter syndrome initially. Like, who am I to be teaching someone who has been doing this job longer than I've been alive?
Yeah, that's
right?
fair.
And then I think after a while, realizing that everyone has a weakness, right? There is a weakness in every single person's game. While I may be really good with ventilators, you may not be, but you're really good at peds. I'm not, right?
Yeah.
But recognizing that I don't need to be the subject matter expert in every single topic, but rather I just need to be able to recognize weaknesses and address them in a way that applies to everyone, right? So first piece was sort of learning to not, that every piece of training isn't going to necessarily mean a huge or make a huge difference to every single clinician, right? So having...
that makes sense.
Yeah, it is difficult to find a topic that everyone in the program doesn't
understand.
Correct.
There's always going to be somebody in the crowd who goes, why am I wasting my time talking about tourniquets?
Right.
Man, I know about tourniquets.
Yep.
Well, segues into another interesting question, or maybe just something that we realized, maybe me and you, maybe me and some other clinicians. If you're sitting in a room not understanding something, it's easy for us to assume we're the only ones that don't get it. I'm like, I don't want to ask a question because then everybody in this room is going to think that I'm the only one that doesn't get it. And then you talk after some sort of training or case study meeting or whatever, and it turns out there's 3 or 4 other people, 5 other people that were like, yeah, I wanted the same shit.
Yeah.
I wanted the same thing.
We all work under this assumption that everyone else knows exactly what's going on
except
but
me.
Us.
Right. Like I'm the only guy that doesn't get this. And
Yes.
I don't want to say it because then I'll just ask a question quietly afterwards.
Yeah, right. It's this perceived weakness of not knowing.
And we're certainly not experts in everything.
No.
And that's, I think, what our egos need to get over a little bit in this job. And then now, so you just took another role as an educator at our local community college.
I did. Yep.
With Dustin.
Yep.
Who him and I went to paramedic school together. Great dude. He's doing good things for EMS. His program's doing good things for EMS.
I agree.
I can't imagine that you two together aren't doing good things for EMS.
Yeah.
And the product you're putting out, the product meaning EMS providers, your clinicians.
Right.
And just added to your addiction of I want to teach people things.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think when I look at why am I doing this job now? Why do I like this job? What gets me out of bed to come do this job is I feel like and again, this not to downplay a clinician, right? But as a clinician, I go out, I show up, I might make a difference to my partner that day. I might make a difference to my patient that day. I might make a difference to a nurse in the ER who I help out that day. But this is sort of where my sphere of influence is limited to.
Right.
As an educator, I feel like what motivates me is the thought of training multiple people who now all have this influence wherever they may be, right? And so if I can train,
which is a big deal,
right?
Because people that leave a clinical setting or an education setting, Iowa is, they spread out. There's all kinds of volunteer services. There's all kinds of small community EMS services that people want to go to, and that makes a difference. And so it's a bigger population of people.
Sure. So it's while I feel like I'm pretty good at putting a patient on a vent and knowing complex settings and optimizing settings for that patient, I can only work so many shifts and I can only see so many patients.
Yeah.
If I can impart that knowledge on 12 critical care candidates in my class, and then they all go forth and do those things and spread that knowledge, now I've influenced, all parts of the state.
It's the ultimate podcast, man.
Right.
Like you and I can sit around and talk shit all day long, but if people don't hear us, this is a way to get that information out. Right?
Yeah.
Like we can get a lot of people in our profession, hopefully at least thinking about, if they're doing the job the right way, and if not, how to get better, and if they're doing their life the right way, and if not, how to get. Not that we're the example of doing it right.
Right.
I'm just saying we're an example of doing it.
Yeah.
And if there's questions out there, if people want to know, hey, Mike, how did you handle 2 deployments and a full-time job and going back to school and, now you're going to get married and all that kind of stuff? Well, let's talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got about 4 minutes left before this thing shuts us down.
Okay.
Not that we can't restart something, but it always seems like a good time just to kind of tie things up.
Sure.
Is there anything left unsaid? I'll tell you this, that we appreciate what you do for us. It's a hard job. We're always going to be critical of you because you're telling me how to do my job. fair. I think we're going to be fair about it, right? But that's a tough job to be in. Anytime you're in a presumed role of expertise,
Yeah.
and you have to teach somebody, especially in our job, it's a tough place to be in. But you seem to be doing it well, and you're doing it right. So we appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Obviously, you look good. I mean, you're jacked. You're doing the things. Everything. You're sleeping every night.
Yeah, that would be my biggest, I guess, the only thing we haven't really talked on. I love fitness. I love mental health things. We really didn't get into that mental health component post deployment, but
good news is that we can do another episode.
Yeah, absolutely, right. But fitness, finding goals outside of work was a huge one for me. Not identifying with my job and identifying as Mike, a husband, stepdad, athlete, and not Mike, paramedic was really big piece that, I'm not.
There's a time to turn it on and there's a time to turn it off.
Yeah, who am I when I'm not in a flight suit or with EMS pants on, right?
We're gonna do an episode someday called "What's in Your Pants."
Yeah,
and it's gonna be like, you remember when we were new and eager and we had all these pockets and we just loaded them down with shit.
Yep.
And then after about 10 years, we're like, I got a pen and maybe some gum.
Yep. It's like the rings on a tree. I can tell you how long you've been a paramedic by how
if there's nothing in those
in your
if
pants.
You got a pair of scissors and some lifesavers,
right?
You've probably been around a long time.
Yep.
Listen, man, I know we just got down off the heels of, we just did a giant purge of our aircraft configuration, which is probably going to go over not very well with the team. But
I'm optimistic.
I'm optimistic. I hope so too.
Yep.
And then we just sat here for an hour and talked shit. So let's get on about our days. But I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Please come back. Let's do some more episodes on some other stuff.
I agree.
There's plenty of rocks that we haven't turned over. So let's do it again.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
All right, man. Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. Thanks again for listening to another episode of the Shift Change Podcast. As always, look for updates on our Instagram page at talk.shiftchange on Instagram, and email me with any questions, problems, concerns at talkshiftchange@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone.